Question that we've been asked is, let's say I live in the province of British Columbia. So let me make this British Columbia. And my taxes are basically in British Columbia, it's GST and PST are separated. When it comes to disbursements, you have tax codes where you can set, different kind of tax codes. But when it comes to dockets, there's only one kind, right? So here, as you see here, the 12% effective tax rate is calculated as 5% of GST and 7% of PST. How can I apply different kinds of billing for different kinds of rates? So let's now go ahead in my matter. I'm going to put my initial client meeting. Okay. So let's say this one is $1,000, right? And when this is now billed at 12% rate, so let me go ahead and raise an invoice. But then I'll show you that if I did bulk of work, which is outside the province, how can I only charge that docket at a different rate and then come back to this price? Okay, so let's now raise an invoice. I'm going to do a complete invoice. I'll skip the preview for now and I'll raise an invoice. So as you see here, the invoice is now $1,120 because of the 12% invoice. So as you will now see, even in the general account, it raised an invoice with HST and with GST and PST properly. Let's say now I have to raise another invoice, but this time for this docket, let's say some discussion on settlement conference, and this one happened outside the country and you want to charge it only at GST rate. Okay, so what you can do is I'll put the same $1,000, but this time I'll click on the title here, and the default tax rate I can make it 5.0%. So only GST is charged on this. Okay, so let me now raise an invoice. Okay, now complete. I'll skip the preview and I'll apply it. Now you will see that this was not 1120, but only at 5%. So let's raise this invoice and see how this invoice looks. It's the same $1,000, but it's at a different tax rate, right? Because it's 5%, right? Now what can happen is, let's say the rest of the dockets are actually happening in the country. So as you see here, so this one, the GST is charge, the PST is 0, and you have achieved that in billing. Now, what you can do is you can go back here and change the tax rate back to default tax rate again. So that one docket, as you saw here, was taxed at a different rate. Now you can come back and add a few more docket. Let's say court, attended court. This is like $500, right? Just make the billing easy, and then let's say there's a telephone conversation, and that's another $500, right? So this is another $1,000. You'll now see this will be back to 12% basically because I removed the default tax rate and it's now back. So let's now raise an invoice, right? And when I raise a settlement statement, it'll be very clear how this thing worked. So let me raise this invoice, and with the settlement statement, I'll show the whole thing. So just by controlling what we call the default tax rate, you can basically control what tax gets applied on that particular invoice. So here, as you go here, now you see that the GST and PST are back, $120 is back. So if I would now download the settlement statement, you will see that there'll be 3 invoices, one charged at 12%, another one charged, and you can see here, hey, this one was charged with GST and PST, this one was only GST, and this one is GST and PST. So how do you do that effectively? To summarize, all I did was I clicked on the title and I changed the default tax rate, and for every invoice you have 100% control on how you can actually do your taxes. Okay, so again, I'll repeat, as you saw here, if you have dockets that are not at the default tax rate and you want to bill your client, uLaw allows you to do that. Obviously, you can only do that in one invoice. So what you can do is you can have all your first invoices at the original tax rate, those dockets that belong to a different tax rate as another invoice, and then you can come back to your normal thing. And now what happens is the area of practice, family law, is also maintained. So if I would go here into my chart of accounts, and if I go into my revenue under legal, and I go into now family law, you'll now see like the revenue that he made is $3,000. But if you actually click on each of them, you'll see the taxes are different. And this one, the PST and the GST are there, but on this one, right, like the PST and GST are there. But if you remember 3457, which is the middle invoice, if I click on that, there's only GST and PST is actually 0. So to summarize, you can basically use this default tax rate the way to control that invoice. Now it's a little bit cumbersome that you need to keep changing it if you have this mechanism, but we hope at least this methodology of tax distribution works well for you.